Serious about headphones? Headphones.com is. Welcome back to Techstination. I'm Fred Fishkin. Joining us is Headphones.com CEO and founder Andrew Lissimore. Hi, Andrew.
Hey, Fred. How are you doing?
Terrific. Well, you have a website dedicated to some of the best headphones and music listening technology. Give us a little more about the site and the history behind it.
Yeah, I'd love to. First, thanks for having me. So headphones.com was a really unlikely company for me to start. And the history is a really interesting one. I was actually a software executive and was kind of enjoying a career in business to business SaaS software until I realized that I wasn't very passionate about SaaS. I was good at it, but I wasn't very passionate. And there was a point about 6 years ago where I really wanted to get an expensive pair of speakers because I love sound and I love audio gear. And my wife, who is a very conservative accountant, said, "This is a stupid idea. Why would you spend this much money on a pair of speakers?" And she had a point. And so I thought, how can I get these speakers and not anger my wife? And so I had this crazy idea that I'd start to sell some of this stuff on the side. I'd continue to do my career. And I thought, hey, if I can break even selling speakers and some headphones, I get an excuse to have all this stuff around my house and she can't complain because there's no financial impact. So at no point did I think, oh, this is a great business idea or this will be my next stage in my career. But it turned out that this thing actually worked really, really well. And I think it's, partly because I was so passionate about it. So I just kept spending more and more time working on this thing. But also there was early kind of signals of success. And I think a lot of it was because I'd taken all the rigors of marketing business to business SaaS software and I just applied it to e-commerce and to high-end audio stuff. And I think just the marriage of my passion and my history in software really helped this thing kick off. So, now we're 6 years into this and we're having a blast. It's grown a ton. And I think we just started to really focus on, hey, what do people buying this kind of thing really care about? And what do they need to know? And so we focused there. Instead of on trying to sell stuff, we focused on building trust. So that's what a lot of our business is built around, is building trust with our target market, which is a lot of fun for me because I love the stuff. And so we create tons of content and information for people that are interested in this stuff or are interested in getting into this stuff.
What a great story. And now the accountant approves, I assume?
Finally. It took years.
And with all of this equipment around, maybe she can hear the difference when you play the different speakers.
So that's still probably a stretch. She's still using the headphones that came with her iPhone, unfortunately.
Tell me, you had even more of a personal motivation here, perhaps the interest that you had in the speakers and the music. You have a musical background and heritage too. Tell me about that.
Yeah, for sure. So I grew up in Canada, and my grandfather was Mark Kenny, who was a Canadian musician. He actually had Canada's most popular big band from the 1930s all the way until he retired in the 2000s. So he had a long and epic career. And I kind of came into the world in the 80s. He was at the kind of the tail end of his career, but I'd constantly meet people who were of an older generation who, they met their wife dancing to him, to his big band, and he was kind of a legend. And so I grew up around that and got to spend a lot of time around him and listening to big band music and going to these dances and really loving it, not really realizing how lucky I was at the time. Looking back, it was a pretty abnormal thing to be exposed to. And he made sure that I had a lot of music influence and exposure when I was growing up. So he got me into piano lessons when I was really young. I started playing the trombone, which was one of the instruments in his band, definitely inspired by him. And then, I finally got into high school and realized that it seemed like the women really liked people that were in rock bands. So I took up the bass and joined a band and started playing shows. Now all of that has subsided because I'm really busy running the company and also have 2 kids. So mostly I'm playing acoustic guitar for my 4-year-old son now, but the music still runs deep, and I've loved it my whole life. So I feel really fortunate to be around it.
That is really terrific. So tell us about headphones.com. You've kind of touched on it a little bit, what you offer that other retailers really don't or can't.
Yeah, well, I thought when we were getting this thing started, I thought, there's a lot of stores out there. So what's the point of us dedicating our lives to making another one unless it's going to be different in some way and hopefully provide more value to people or different value? And so the thought experiment we did at the beginning was we just wrote down, what would a utopian headphone store look like? What would a perfect headphone store look like? And we came up with a bunch of ideas. Most of them were not practical. And some of them seemed impractical, but actually turned out to work. So one of the really crazy ones is that we thought, hey, a perfect store would give us a really long return window, especially with something like headphones that are so personal. So we looked around at other stores, and it seemed like 60 days was kind of the maximum return window, and 30 days was the average. We thought, what if we did a year? What if we gave people a full year to spend time with their new product and get to know it? And even though we didn't necessarily want someone to take a year to figure out if they like the thing or not, we thought it'd be a really good way for people to just be able to relax and get to experience their new product and see if it was really a good fit or not. And that also created this really interesting incentive, because it made it so that there was no reason we'd ever want to just sell someone something, because we knew if we sold someone the wrong thing, we'd get it back at some point. So it gave us this really great front-loaded incentive to curate our store really well, and also to try to give people really good advice on what to buy, just so they would like it for a year and hopefully beyond. So that was pretty rare. I think the other thing is that we focused on this, I kind of touched on this, but we focused on content to help educate people about these products. I think a lot of stores think of content as a medium to get people to buy stuff. In other words, their ads kind of vaguely disguised as reviews. And my thinking was that people can see through that. So we decided, hey, we're going to do a lot of content, and it's going to be built around generating trust with the people who are into this stuff, and trust with the people who could get into this stuff. We thought, hey, if they trust us, hopefully they'll also buy from us. So we'll tell people, the thing we sell is maybe not good at these things, or maybe something we don't sell is a better fit. And we do that because we know that every time we say something like that, it surprises people and kind of creates this extra trust and authority. And so that's actually worked out really well. We've, on one hand, I think we've lost a few brand relationships over it because we've criticized some of the products that we sell. But if you lose a brand, it shows the customers that, hey, that's how much we take this trust and authenticity and integrity seriously. We're willing to actually, put our business on the line to do it. But a lot of brands really appreciate it. They understand, they take the feedback really well. And of course, the customers really appreciate the honesty.
Oh, that is really extraordinary. Something comes to mind, though. I mean, I've been around a really long time. So many years ago, Jeff Bezos came in the studio to see me to tell me about his idea of selling books online. Mm-hmm. And I was skeptical because, hey, I like to thumb through a book before I buy it, like people used to do. It would seem to me that most people, if they're going to buy headphones, would want to put them on and listen with them. But you're able to overcome that because of this return policy, or tell me about it.
Partly. I mean, it's funny that you brought up Jeff Bezos, because he was one of the first people to put negative reviews about the stuff he sells online. And I remember he had a lot of trouble with the 3 book distributors he was dealing with, because he was allowing customers to put up negative reviews. And, obviously those book distributors wouldn't be complaining anymore about the volume Amazon is doing. It turned out to be the right strategy. And I think that kind of normalized to some extent what we're doing. But yeah, you're right. I mean, headphones are such a personal product that the real way to experience them is to put them on. And so that's part of the genesis of our return policy. But it's also why we spend so much time trying to put out really great information and content about these things, so that you can hopefully learn enough to make a good choice, because it's still not very practical to have 100 different pairs of headphones shipped to your house so you can try them all out. But I think it's really convenient to be able to do research at your own leisure, figure out what questions you need answered, and hopefully we have those answers for you, and maybe narrow it down to 1, 2, or 3 pairs of headphones, and you get to give them a try, and then find the one that really works for you. So yeah, I think there's always gonna be a space for brick and mortar stores that are great venues for you to be able to go and try things out and even buy from. But I also think it's nice to be able to sit comfortably in your home and browse and shop. And maybe if you're not somewhere that's in a major center where you're close to a specialized headphone store, it's really nice to have an option like this. And also, we have such a large catalog of really high-end products that would be pretty impractical for a brick and mortar store to be carrying. So, your trade-offs. I think, it's nice to be able to pick something up and experience it, but it's also nice to have maximum options and maximum information about the things you're buying. So we've done our best to try to make as much of the brick and mortar, the in-person shopping experience, and bring as much as we can to the digital world, but also there's unique advantages to the digital world that we're also taking advantage of to try to make a richer shopping experience.
Well, these are personal choices, and I don't want to put you on the spot, but is there anything that's a really big hit this holiday season that people might want to take a look at?
Yes, absolutely. So for the first time in my headphone career, there's a product that I can now recommend to my parents and to people who have not really been into this stuff, but can give them a glimpse of what the high-end audio world is really like without requiring a ton of friction or effort. So one of my favorite companies is a French company called Focal. It's spelled like focal, so Focal. And they're legendary for making incredible speakers and car audio systems. And they entered the headphone world in the high-end space in 2016, making some of the world's most renowned headphones. But these things cost upwards of $4,000, $5,000. And I wouldn't really recommend that people spend that much unless they have that much to spend on headphones. And then if you do, that's what I'd buy. But they've actually released a wireless Bluetooth noise canceling headphone. It was released just, I think it was October 4th. So it's brand new to the market. And to me, it's the first real high-end, hi-fi headphone that you can just take with you portably and put on without needing an amp or a bunch of extra gear to go with it. So it's a practical headphone. It looks beautiful, incredible industrial design. It's called the Batisse. And I think a lot of North Americans are gonna just read the spelling and think it's the Bathys, it's Bathys, but the French pronunciation is Batisse. So the Focal Batisse this holidays is definitely my recommendation to friends and family, and we're already selling tons of them as gifts. So I definitely recommend checking that out.
Terrific. And what if the person that you're buying for maybe already has a very good pair of headphones, and I guess we use the word audiophile. I guess you hear that a lot. Maybe it's overworked.
Mm-hmm.
But what might some other gift suggestions be for that kind of person?
Well, it depends on how well you know them and if you know what headphones they have. I think if they've got a nice pair of headphones, it's likely to have removable pads. And it's always nice to get them a replacement pair of pads. Or if you know what the cable is on that headphone, or you can find it out, getting them a really nice cable. And there's a whole school of thought about whether cables make a difference with the sound, and I'm not going to get into that discussion, but when it comes to ergonomics and how they look, a nice cable can go a long way. The universal gift that I think is really underrated is a headphone stand. And it's because not many people will buy one for themselves because it feels a little luxurious and unnecessary. It's something everyone who has a nice pair of headphones can benefit from, and if it's a nice pair, you want to show it off, so put it on a nice stand.
Very, very interesting. For more info, the website once again is headphones.com. That domain, getting that was a big achievement too, wasn't it?
It was. I'll tell you that story over a beer, Fred.
Terrific. Well, headphones.com. Andrew Lissimore, thank you so much for spending time with us.
Thanks for having me, Fred.